Leanne Duncan last updated 0500, November 5, 2017. Wellington. Freelance journalist Leanne Duncan has revealed herself as one of 1,000 anonymous participants of the world-famous Dunedin study, who has been poked and prodded and measured ever since she was born 45 years ago. What's it like to be one of the most studied people in the world, having just completed her latest contribution for Phase 45? Leanne Duncan describes living as a number, with little of her life a mystery. I'm world famous, but no one knows who I am. Every aspect of my life has been analyzed, tested, recorded and laid bare, yet no one knows anything about me. That's because, as I answer questions and submit to tests every 7 years, my privacy is fiercely guarded. I'm just a 4-digit number to everyone but those who take my various measurements or read me questions and record my answers. I'm world famous, but no one knows who I am. Every aspect of my life has been analyzed, tested, recorded and laid bare, yet no one knows anything about me. But I'm outing myself. I'm in the Dunedin Multidisciplinary Health and Development Study, or DMHDS for less than snappy short, or better, the Dunedin Study. I was born in November 1972 in Queen Mary Hospital, Dunedin, New Zealand. Because of the location and year of my birth, my parents were asked to allow their brand new daughter to take part in a brand new health study. No one knew that I'd still be studied 45 years later, nor that there would be plans to continue studying me for another 45 years, fingers crossed and funding granted. Read more. Inspiring campaign to shape a child's life in just 1,000 days. Dunedin providing the data that could shape humanity's future. Leanne Duncan. Music used as a vehicle for social change. Of course it's not just me. There were 1037 of us in the study then, and there are still around 960 today, with a participation percentage each phase in the mid-90s. That's a phenomenally high retention rate and evidence of how we study members regard our responsibilities. It also lends the study's findings a ton of weight. When Leanne Duncan was born 45 years ago, her parents signed her up for a study of more than 1,000 children born that year in Dunedin. Now, she has children of her own, Ruby, 12, and Jude, 7. Like my fellow members, after an examination at birth I had my first assessment at 3 years old, with half-day assessments following every 2 years until we were 15. We now do day assessments every 7 years, with the study generously flying us in from wherever we are in the world, accommodating us and reimbursing us for our time. Until now the assessments were conducted in humble surrounds. The study's first premises were in the Sunday school rooms at Knox Church Hall on Dunedin's main shopping street. I remember going with my mother when I was very young, awed by the staircase. We had fun. We did puzzles and ate slices of apple. I think the apple was morning tea, not a test, but who knows. Then, after 3 decades in another building that to call it institutional would be a kindness, the study now has a permanent, purpose-built home just a good-sized punt from Forsyth Stadium. In keeping with the privacy promise, there is no big bragging sign outside, just the study's name and familiar logo painted on the glass door. It's a demure entrance for a study that's revered in medical circles around the world. Leanne Duncan, aged 4 months. I was born in November 1972 in Queen Mary Hospital, Dunedin, New Zealand. Because of the location and year of my birth, my parents were asked to allow their brand new daughter to take part in a brand new health study. Our assessments used to be all about development, measuring how childhood factors affected our health and behaviors as adults. Now they're very much analyzing how we're aging, what part our upbringing and lifestyle choices are playing in our degeneration. It's all a bit like going to confession, and it had been 7 years since my last. Taken usually 3 at a time, we participants arrive a whisper past 8 a.m. on our allotted study day, unsure exactly what we're in for but knowing we're here until nearly 6 p.m. We're told to wear light, comfortable clothes and minimal makeup. That's all fine. Not so fine are the requests to come decaffeinated and with a bladder, and the smokers unfumigated. Like we've done in every phase we can remember, we huff and puff during respiratory and cardiovascular tests, and our blood pressure is recorded many times. We puzzle our way through various games to record our cognitive prowess decline. Leanne Duncan, aged 4, with mom, grandmother and great-grandmother like my fellow members. After an examination at birth I had my first assessment at 3 years old, with half-day assessments following every 2 years until we were 15. We have our teeth picked and even our plaque is scraped and stored, and a 3D image of our entire mouth is created so they can chart wear and tear. Multiple vials of blood are taken for various tests, and we're weighed and measured. It's better not to look. Our eyes are tested, our retinas photographed, and our balance challenged. None of that hurts other than, perhaps, pride, but this year they tested how we receive pain. It didn't hurt. Painful for some, but fascinatingly, they roll out our timelines for us to update with any significant or traumatic happenings since they last saw us. That's a cognitive test in itself. Knew this phase was a brain MRI, requiring us to lie perfectly still for 70 minutes while the machine chugs, whirs and throbs around us. We have several scans listening to, then not listening to and simply trying to stay awake while instructed to think of nothing. That's harder than it is. Then we do challenges to fire up various parts of our brains. In time, we each receive a flash drive with our brain images and notification if anything's amiss. Leanne Duncan, aged 7. The study's first premises were in the Sunday school rooms at Knox Church Hall on Dunedin's main shopping street. I remember going with my mother when I was very young, awed by the staircase. Among the body samples and images they collect, our experiences, thoughts, and attitudes also provide rich research. Some questions about our lifestyle can be confronting. No one asks you questions like these and expects completely honest answers. But we give them. Our inquisitors are also uniformly lovely and supernaturally unshockable. But then, my life is so very beige, without enough shade to turn taupe. I always feel I'm in a control group. I'm so boring. No, I've never used a weapon on anyone. No, I don't hear voices from the TV. No, I've never hit my partner. I also feel very, very lucky. No, I've never been a victim of violence, experienced mental ill health, had surgery or lost any teeth. I've never had to sleep in a car or steal to feed my children. I don't smoke. Okay, perhaps. I do drink a bit more than recommended. While the assessments are now very much about aging, some things still seem pretty good. My hearing is excellent. Husband, are you listening? I could stand, eyes closed, on one foot longer than in my last test, and I felt more confident performing a dexterity test we do every year. Apparently at phase 38, as a group we did better in that test than we did aged 13. Results surprise. Leanne Duncan, aged 11. We had fun doing the assessments. We did puzzles and ate slices of apple. I think the apple was morning tea, not a test, but who knows, while that finding isn't going to win any Nobel Prizes, cure cancer or change lives, there's plenty from the study that could and does. As 2 examples, the study has put hard data behind many aspects of modern life we may know, percentages around infertility rates after the late 30s, and that childhood hardship can lead to costly adult life course outcomes, more crime, obesity, welfare dependence, ill health. But it's also exposed many correlations we didn't know. For example, that dangerous or criminal behavior in youth mostly doesn't translate into adulthood. That finding changed policy around the world and how to deal with 17-year-olds who commit serious offenses. We now know marijuana use in young people with certain genes can lead to mental illness. We know people with another gene who are abused as children have an increased chance of turning to violence themselves. On a lighter note, we know people in their 30s are just as likely to have drunken and regret it as the younger generation we generally brand with such behavior. Leanne Duncan, aged 13. Our assessments used to be all about development, measuring how childhood factors affected our health and behaviors as adults. The study is also looking to the next generation, studying our children. In 2008, a pleasant researcher came and videoed me and my then 3-year-old daughter doing puzzles. Who were they, me or her? I'm still not sure. If I had a 15-year-old, they could now be in the study too. Every phase there is some new aspect of our lives to explore. Sometimes that's following up on previous findings, but it's also linked to funding. Overseas research organizations can request the study explore a certain aspect, and they're willing to pay. That's vital because, as well regarded as the research project is, study head Professor Richie Powelton spends much of his time as chief fundraiser. Amusingly, in 2015 the study missed out on government funding, but this year won the Prime Minister's Science Prize. Go figure. The prize money helped purchase some pretty impressive kit used in this assessment. Leanne Duncan, aged 16. We have our teeth picked at even our plaque is scraped and stored, and the 3D image of our entire mouth is created so they can chart wear and tear. Multiple vials of blood are taken for various tests, and were weighed and measured. It's better not to look. With the Science Prize and TVNZ's 4-part documentary, the study has enjoyed some welcome publicity recently. While Professor Powelton welcomes the profile for this study, the focus it inevitably brings on its participants makes him go all Papa Bear. He stresses it's us who are the true stars, but he's determined to protect us from the spotlight. We bare our hearts and souls and hand over so much he'd throw himself in front of a bus to protect our information. I asked for Professor Powelton's permission to write this article. He hummed and hawed but said yes, so long as I make it clear it's me talking about me, not the study, certainly not him. And I think I speak for many study members when I say we're happy to talk because we're proud. Because of where and when we were born, we have an honored opportunity to contribute to massive medical changes and social policy shifts. And all we have to do was turn up once every few years. We'll be 52 at our next confession. Leanne Duncan, aged 19. Some questions about our lifestyle can be confronting. No one asks you questions like these and expects completely honest answers. We've exposed every bit of ourselves and literally opened a vein. But we know what's extracted from us can affect the lives of millions of people for years and years to come. That's well worth braving a few awkward questions. Leanne Duncan. Today, the Wellington journalist has revealed herself as one of 1,000 anonymous participants of the world-famous Dunedin study, poked and prodded and measured ever since she was born 45 years ago. Sunday Star Times.